Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Katerina Dimitropoulos, Communications Manager at the International Chamber of Shipping, and I'm delighted to welcome you to this webinar on ballast water management, where we aim to spark different conversations by bringing together experts from the shipping sector to share their perspectives on ballast water management system matters to better understand the challenges of various stakeholders. As part of today's webinar, participants will learn about the upcoming new ballast water regulations, ship companies' experiences with the Ballast Water Convention, view of the Classification Society on compliance with D2 standard, and Flag State's perspective on what will happen after the experience building phase. Just to let you know, the discussion will be recorded and made available to all attendees after the meeting, and we encourage you to participate by asking questions using the question function on your control panel. First, let me introduce today's expert panel. I'm delighted to welcome John Arneson, Vetting Manager, DPA CSO at Utkeln. Welcome, John. Our second panelist is Dr. Sean Mumbeck, Principal Surveyor for the Marine and Ocean Equipment Team at Korean Register. Welcome, Sean. Our third panelist is Manoj Subramanian, Senior Marine Advisor Technical at the International Chamber of Shipping. Hi Manoj, welcome. Our fourth panelist is Thanos Theocharis, Senior Manager Regulatory Affairs at IRI, the Marshall Islands. Welcome, Thanos. And completing our panel today is Ivan Blamik, Managing Director of Fast Lines Belgium. Welcome, Ivan. Thank you all for joining us today. And Thanos, I would like to now kindly invite you to start your presentation, please.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Katerina. And I would like to thank also ICS for the invitation. I guess it's great for me being in a panel with people who have so much expertise in this field. So, if I could turn to my presentation, I'd like to start by quoting one of the key regulations of the convention. This is Regulation A2, which states that except where expressly provided otherwise, the discharge of ballast water shall only be conducted through ballast water management in accordance with the provisions of this annex. Now, 6 months ago, we have moved to a new era where all ships must comply with the D2 standard. So far, this is translated to ships being fitted with a ballast water management system, unless the ship discharges ballast water that meets the criteria of any one of the exemptions prescribed in Regulation A3, or granted an exemption under Regulation A4, or even discharges ballast water to a reception facility in accordance with Regulation B3.6 and the G5 guidelines for ballast water reception facilities. Next slide, please. 13 years have passed between the adoption of the convention and its entry into force. As challenges can be expected with any new global approach, that has been also the reason for IMO adopting the experience building phase, following a proposal submitted to which the Marshall Islands was also one of the proponents. So the experience building phase was established as a means to carry out a systematic and evidence-based review of the entire convention. Having received the data analysis report of the experience building phase in June 2022, MEPC has thereafter initiated the convention review stage of the experience building phase, and in July 2023 has approved the associated convention review plan, in line with which a package of amendments to the convention and its supporting instruments may be approved and adopted. Now, the list of provisions of the convention and those associated instruments to be amended, revised, or even new ones to be developed was endorsed by MEPC back in March 2024. And the relevant work is currently ongoing based on this list. The list is a set of priority amendments that implement improvements to the convention needed before the end of the non-penalization measures specific to the experience building phase that are set out in Resolution MEPC 290/71. Next slide, please. So during the experience building, building phase, a ship should not be penalized, sanctioned, warned, detained, or excluded solely due to an exceedance of the ballast water performance standard described in Regulation D2 of the Convention, following use of a system, provided that the system is approved in accordance with Regulation D3.1 of the Convention, it has been installed correctly, it has been maintained in accordance with the manufacturer's instructions, the approved ballast water management plan has been followed in all instances, including the operational instructions and the manufacturer's specifications for the system. And finally, either the self-monitoring system of the BWMS indicates that the treatment process is working properly, or the port state has been advised that the system is defective prior to the discharge of any ballast water. From this list, I believe the most important part for taking us to the next slide is that the port state needs to be advised whenever the system is defective prior to the discharge of any ballast water, which is further linked with regulations E1.6 and E1.7 of the Convention, and which those two regulations actually require the flag or the RO of the ship to be notified in order for an appropriate action to be taken, which ultimately will also protect the ship against a port state control. Now, at this point, I want to clarify that each flag may be handling these notifications in different ways, and so the action with respect to the ship certificate pending the repairs of the system, which until these are completed though, the discharge of ballast water is always subject to any conditions imposed by the port state. The latter is specifically articulated in paragraph 4 of Circular 62, BWM 2/Circular 62. It's a well-known circular to everybody, which provides guidance on contingency measures. Agreement, though, is not required in cases where the ship has reactively bypassed its system after encountering challenging water quality conditions and has followed the guidance of Resolution MEPC 387/81. Likewise, notifying the next state receiving water from the affected ballast tanks is required as per paragraph 47 of the resolution only in case where the port state requires specific information regarding the management of ballast water on ships bound for its ports, offshore terminals, or anchorage areas through the submission of the ballast water reporting form that is contained in Circular 80. Now, Circular 62 and the resolution challenging water quality conditions are examples to understand some parts of the priority amendments under the Convention review stage. Those two instruments presently have an impact upon the mandatory requirement of the Convention, which prohibits ballast water to be discharged without meeting the D2 standard. So the aim in developing those draft amendments is to amend Regulation A3 as well to legally enable the use of contingency measures and challenging water guidance, taking into account those two instruments. Next slide, please. So this slide shows the timeline of the Convention review plan. We are presently just before MEPC 83, and the discussions anticipated to take place, among other issues, will be focusing on critical spares that the system should have, modifications of a BWMS, the approval by the administration of the operation maintenance and safety manual after such modifications, whether minor or major, limiting the treatment rate capacity of the systems based on performance under challenging water qualities and setting more challenging organism conditions. At this point, I would also like to mention that the date for MEPC 84 has moved for 2026, as the second meeting of the committee later this year will be an extraordinary session of MEPC for adopting the amendments to MARPOL Annex 6 without any other agendas being discussed. And with this, I conclude my presentation, and back to you, Katerina.
Thank you, Thanos. Thank you. Thanks for providing an overview of the experience building phase of the Ballast Water Management Convention, the Ballast Water Management Convention review plan, and the dispensation requirements and non-penalisation. I'm sure there will be many amendments to the Ballast Water Management Convention that will impact the operations of shipping companies and which shipping companies should be aware of. Dispensation procedures, when the ballast water management system is not functional due to technical reason, is a key element which we will be discussing further in this panel discussion. I would like now to invite Manoj to present his presentation, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Katerina. So today my presentation is on giving a further update on the upcoming ballast water regulations. So can I go to the next slide, please, to the agenda? Yeah, thank you. Thanks to Thanos for providing the overview of experience building phase on the convention review plan. I will further note or give a hint of what are the priority issues identified during the experience building phase, and what are those regulations which are coming up to deal with those priority issues, and what is that is lying ahead once the new regulations come into force. And I will conclude as well. Next slide, please. So these are the four broad categories of the issues that is been identified during the experience building phase. How to improve the performance of BWMS, because the BWMS do not work in certain conditions. That is in the inability of BWMS to perform in challenging water quality. This has been identified as the two most operational reasons in the experience building phase. And also sampling and analysis during PSC inspection has been a challenge due to lack of resource for the coastal states. So they are, how do they go about it? As I will also summarize on what are the new regulations coming up to address this issue of lack of resource of random sampling and analysis during PSC inspection. And also improper record keeping has been a very major concern identified by the regulators during the experience building phase. Next slide, please. So noting all those four broad categories, the upcoming regulations, the companies should note, or that they will find that these regulations will impact their operations are BWM Circular 80 has been revised. There is a revision 1 as well containing the form of the ballast water record book. This is already in force to ensure proper record keeping, which addresses that priority issue identified during experience building phase of improper record keeping. This is already in force, and companies are requested to note this. There will be concentrated inspection campaigns this year as well on the ballast water record book and ballast water management plan. So this is one major regulations, new amendments that companies should note of. And lack of maintenance has been addressed as one of the key major things, and regulation B1, B2 and E1 are going to be amended. So regulation B1 will require ships to include BWMS maintenance procedures in their ballast water management plans. So when they say maintenance, the regulators are concerned about the total residuant oxidants or not being maintained as required by the crew, and also the chemicals are not being used as appropriately required. So there is a disinfectant byproducts, the levels being discharged into the sea or more because of these reasons. And to address these, the regulators have come up with regulation B amendments to regulation B1 to include BWMS maintenance procedures, and also regulation B2 will also require ships to record maintenance. For those ships, ICS has raised this issue of practicality of duplication of records in because of this amendments to regulation B2. So this has been taken into account for those ships which already record maintenance in PMS. They need only to record a high level information in their ballast water record book, saying that the record can be found elsewhere in the PMS as per the ISM code requirements. Regulation E1, there is an amendment, so this will require class surveyors or the recognized organization to verify BWMS maintenance records during flag state surveys. So this is a new precedent for the companies to note. Verification of maintenance is coming up during annual, intermediate and renewal surveys. And there is a proposal to amend regulation B6 to require crew to undergo ships specific BWMS training. So we hope that this doesn't go through, but lack of training is something has been identified as a major reason for BWMS bypass. So there is a proposal for ship-specific BWMS training. There is no precedent for this. As ICS position on this is only generic training, and any ship-specific aspect of training is dealt by familiarization on board ships. We will be highlighting this in upcoming MEPC 83, and we'll keep others updated as well. Regulation E1 will require ships, amendments to regulation E1 will require ships to undergo mandatory sampling and analysis during intermediate and renewal surveys to prove D2 standard compliance. So this is a major upcoming change to the ballast water regulations. Ships have to prove their ability or to the effectiveness to meet D2 standards during flag state surveys, especially during intermediate and renewal. And finalization of interim challenging water quality guidance is kind of pending. This interim challenging water quality guidance, when it was adopted or when it came to force, it was perceived that this challenging water quality is a temporary issue, but increasingly it is becoming more evident that this is a permanent issue and existing ships will require this guidance. So ICS will press for finalization of this guidance when matters come up at IMO. Next slide, please. So what lies ahead? As Thanos mentioned in his presentation, ships have been mandated to install a BWMS, especially after their IOPP certificates have come up for renewal from 2019. 5 years have already passed, and most of the ships are now with a BWMS to manage their ballast water. All BWMS have system design limitations, which make them temporarily inoperable in certain challenging water quality conditions. And ballast water exchange will now continue to play a vital role in continuing trade in certain ports. Although challenging water quality guidance will assist ships in overcoming administrative procedural complexities, D2 standard compliance in all conditions will remain a challenge. That is what is anticipated. And companies are encouraged to develop and implement best practices, as non-penalization will be considered at the discretion of the coastal state on a case-by-case basis. Next slide, please. And as a conclusion, priority issues identified during the experience building phase are improving the performance of BWMS for new ships, and addressing challenging water quality issues for existing ships, and verifying compliance with sampling and analysis during PSC inspections, and solving improper record keeping as well. So to address all these 4 issues, the upcoming changes to ballast water regulations will require companies to do proper record keeping following the record keeping circular, BWM Circular 80 Revision 1, and also will require them to maintain the BWMs, require operators or ship owners to train the crew properly, and mandatory sampling and analysis during surveys to prove D2 standard compliance, and also adherence to the requirements of the challenging water quality guidance. And companies are encouraged to develop and implement best practices, as non-penalization will be considered on a case-to-case basis at the discretion of the coastal state. I will stop there and thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Manoj, for providing an update on the upcoming changes to ballast water regulations that will impact shipping companies' operations and what shipping companies can expect in the future. It will be interesting to learn a bit later what the participants think of the possibility of continued use of ballast water exchange to continue trade and the upcoming ballast water regulatory changes. Ivan, please may I kindly ask you to share the ship owner's perspective.
Yes, indeed. Good morning, good day, Catherine and ICS for giving me the floor. So good day, everyone. First, a short introduction on our company, so all participants know our trading background and can understand why we took certain decisions in relation to ballast water management systems. Next slide, please. So my company was founded in 1991 by my late father-in-law, Herman Shears. He started as a voyage and time charterer and purchased the first ship in the year 2000. In 2003, my wife and I took over the business and navigate ever since Fastlines Belgium through the perils of the sea. We are maybe different than other ship owners, colleague ship owners, because from the very beginning, as ship owner, we decided to do everything in-house. And doing everything in-house, meaning full ownership of the ships, organizing our own crewing, our own technical management, arrange ISM, ISPN's plans, as well as the commercial aspects of the business. So for us, it's very important that the ships keep on sailing, and every minute lost due to a technical failure, even of ballast water treatment systems, we feel in our wallet. Our trading area is the Baltic Sea, North Sea, Irish Sea, and the Biscay Gulf, where we sail with our fleet of general cargo short sea vessels with a dead weight of 3,200 up to 3,600 tons. Most of the voyages we make are less than a week, whereby sailing time can be as short as 24 hours. This implies most downtime can be saved into ports. Second slide. Not only seaports are called by our ships, but we sail also on some European rivers to far inland destinations. Next slide. Since our fleet consists of small coasters with limited space in the engine room and limited surplus power on the gensets, the choice of the ballast water management system was reduced to a few types only. To give ourselves, our fleet managers, time for preparation of the installation and gain knowledge on what and how, we disconnected our IOPP certificate from the overall class certificates and delayed the due date for installation with about 1 to 2 years. This allowed us to talk to many colleague owners, operators, to understand their views and experiences with the various available systems and make the right choice of ballast water system for our fleet. At the end, we opted for an electrochlorination system from ERMA first, as we thought it was the best choice for our ships and the sailing area they were trading in, even knowing initially from the start that it would not be a perfect system with operational challenges ahead. But before purchasing the system, we made a 3D scan of the engine room to find out where we put all the elements of the ballast water system. Because the space was limited, we had to detach some elements in every corner of the engine room. And once a supplier was chosen, we needed to make a custom-made design of the whole installation for each ship of our fleet. We even noticed some differences in layout among sister vessels, complicating the works a bit more. Once the installation was installed and commissioned, it took about 6 months for each of our crews to understand the system, not operating the system, but understand what the system was doing. I remember our crew and fleet managers complaining in the beginning that when they started the system, every half an hour, an alarm blocked the ballasting operations, and the crew needed to figure out what the reason could be. Was it the blocked sand filter? Was the salinity of the intake water too low? Was the electrochlorination chemistry not working? And so on and so on. Always with time pressure on the crew's neck to perform the normal duties on board on time. But okay, when time passed by, we got to know the system at the end, and also for the supplier, it was a learning curve. Now, 3-4 years after the initial installation, some difficulties still occur when using the ballast water management systems. And some of these difficulties will never be solved. The reason for it are the environment we work in. Dock water in inland ports being fresh or brackish rather than salt. Even some Baltic seaports have lower salinity than North Sea ports. A lot of sediments in the water are blocking the valves filters, delaying ballast operations. Extra power needed for the ballasting is restricting other port operations due to the limited power from the gensets. And where without ballast water systems, we did ballasting, deballasting in about 6-7 hours. Now it could be double. So not only delaying the vessel's expected time of sailing, but also causing problems in complying with working rest hours for the crew. The crew had to learn to use the technical system on board, irrespective from the result of the cleaning of the ballast water. And we allowed them this extra time to do so, even this meant later sailing than expected. Despite all efforts and knowledge we acquired, and with all care the crew is given in operating the ballast water management system, the system sometimes failed to work. At that moment, there's no other possibility than to bypass the system. Of course, the decision to bypass the system in those cases is almost always to be taken by the owner himself. Because when we report problems to FLAC, they say, if the harbor master is okay with it, we will give you a dispensation. And when we talk to the harbor master, he tells us most of the times he's not authorized to allow bypassing, and we're dragged in the catch-22 situation. In these exceptional circumstances, we need a pragmatic approach from regulators and clear instructions who can take a decision for dispensation. The road in our decision to go for a certain type of ballast water management system was a combination of different factors. Of course, purchase price, maintenance cost of the system were important, but also the ease of use in daily operations, the reliability of the system, where we would trade with our ships, etc., etc. So for me, there's no system fit for all the purposes. Every ship owner needs to seek out what is best for his fleet. We took on our existing fleet the electrochlorination. For our new building fleet, we will go for UV installation. So every situation is different. I thank you for listening and hope to hear more about you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ivan. Thank you. Thanks for outlining the selection process for the ballast water management systems for your vessels and your company's best practices that you have in place. It was very informative to know the challenges faced by ships on short voyages with the ballast water management convention. The need for regulators to adopt a pragmatic approach for ballast water management sounds logical, and we will hear more from the participants during the panel discussion on this. I can see lots of questions coming in, so there'll be lots of discussion following. Please, can I invite John for your presentation?
Good morning, everyone. Many thanks to invite us to highlight the challenges we have regarding the ballast water treatment systems. By hearing Juan talking about his challenges, we see that we have many of the same challenges. But first, a few words about ourselves. Next slide, please. Utkilen, we are a family-owned company with traditions back to the 19th centuries. We are fully integrated, office in Bergen, but we also have office in Riga and Manila. We own and operate 15 stainless steel chemical tankers ranging from 5 to 17,000 ton. Next slide, please. We have about 50 office personnel and 500 seafarers from Norway, Baltic, and the Philippines. We are engaged, as the previous speaker said, in the hectic North Sea and Baltic trade. We do more than 2,000 port calls a year and 2.5 days in average at sea. That means we do a lot of operation on a daily basis for ballasting and deballasting. With regards to the ballast water treatment system, we decided to install UV treatment on the entire fleet. However, there are some challenges with UV systems also, especially in regards to the challenging water quality. With low UV intensity occurs due to turbidity, let's say dirty water, the system will reduce the flow rate. And on some systems, the UV lamps depends on the flow. Low flow causes high temperature on the UV lamp, and consequently the system will shut down. Another challenge also, when you experience the high temperature, the UV lamp have a tendency to burst, which also needs us to have extra lamps on board to comply with that. Next slide, please. Can you go back a slide? The trading area is a challenge. Northern Europe, where many of the ports we are taking in the ballast, have challenging water quality. And despite that we have a fully operational and functional system, the treatment system is not designed actually to handle the challenging water treatment. And in that case, we need to bypass the system. Next slide, please. Operational challenges. Operational challenges when experiencing challenging water are lack of responses when reporting to port authorities. That you have bypassed the system and need to do a ballast water exchange en route to the next port. Some of the challenges is that it's difficult to get answers from the port authorities, especially after office hours and weekends. And also there are different interpretations of the regulation. Another challenge, rest hours. A typical ballast water exchange takes about 16 to 20 hours to complete. And this needs to be done on top of other activities such as tank cleaning and maintenance. A consequence of this is extra running hours on ballast pumps and auxiliary engine, and consequently more maintenance and emission. If we need to deviate to do the ballast water exchange, you have sail distance and fuel consumption on the main engine, and this may have a negative impact on the CII rating. Next slide, please. As discussed, there are no ballast water exchange area under regulation D2. However, port authorities are still referring to the ballast water exchange areas when you are requesting for that, with reference to ballast water convention regulation B43 and circular 56. In the Baltic, we have an agreement with Swedish maritime authorities when we are experiencing challenging water quality, that ballast water exchange should be carried out as close as possible to where the ballast water uptake was done. Today, we know by experience which ports we can expect the challenging water quality. But to work around this, we need to plan. Do we need to take in a full ballast on arriving? Can we wait? Can we take in some ahead? Or only water that shall be discharged needs to be exchanged? If you only partly will discharge the ballast water. Next slide. In 2023, we initiated a project in cooperation with DNV and Maker Optimarine called Ballast Water Connect. As part of the project, the data gathered should provide DNV with information from a ship's ballast water operation. Data should also identify ports in which the ship had encountered challenging water, causing critical alarms and warnings to be activated, and hence creating a potential risk of non-compliance with the Ballast Water Management Convention. Both DNV and Optimarine were online with the vessel. When vessel not in compliance, a notification was immediately issued to DNV and Utkilen, and we could take necessary action. Benefits of this project: we gained control. We managed to train, familiarize, and supervise the crew. We had gained better performance over time. We quickly had an overview of the ports with challenging water. However, after 2023, we ended the project because we saw that we didn't have any further development. Next slide. During the project, we saw the need for sharing knowledge, and we created a user forum for the fleet. There, the vessel had the possibility to share knowledge, comment, asking questions, and in addition, we had monthly meetings. We also developed a guidance for the fleet, including topics like how to handle challenging water quality, different reporting templates, how to complete the ballast water record book, and lastly, different forms, checklist, flowcharts. Next slide, which is visualized on the next slide. So thank you very much for listening to me and the challenges we have with the ballast water management system. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Thank you very much for sharing your company's measures and initiatives to improve compliance, which are commendable, particularly the Ballast Water Connect project. Lack of designated ballast water exchange areas and their impact on emissions and the impact on CII rating will be an interesting element for further discussion by the panel. Last but certainly not least, please can I invite Dr. Sean for his presentation.
Thank you for having me in this valuable webinar. I'm Dr. Sean from Korean Register in the Republic of Korea. Today, I will be presenting the compliance status of the T2 standard of the Ballast Water Management Convention, as well as our findings. Next, please. Thank you. The Ballast Water Management Convention was entered into force on September 8, 2017. As you are aware, the goal of this convention is to protect the marine environment from the harmful organisms contained in the ballast water transferred from the other sea area. Next, please. In accordance with the regulation P3 of the convention, I expected that your ship already installed and operating ballast water management system on board in order to comply with the regulation T2. As you can see, for the regulation T2, there are criteria of the number of aquatic organisms and indicator microbes after managing ballast water by the ship. Next, please. And we are under the experience building phase associated with the convention, IMO gathered the data regarding implementation of the convention, and the data was analyzed. The analysis report was submitted to the IMO by the secretary. And now IMO is under the convention review stage. So many items were identified during the data gathering stage of the EEP. Next, please. The Republic of Korea conducted a study on the compliance status of D2 standard under the BWM Convention. As part of this study, we carried out sampling and analysis of ballast water discharged from being treated by BWMS on board. All indicative and detailed analysis were performed in accordance with the relevant international standards and IMO guidance. We also interviewed the crews and officers of the ships to understand how they manage ballast water and operate and maintain BWMS. The study was conducted on a total of 108 ships from 2016 to 2023. Next, please. The analysis, I'm sorry. The analysis of ballast water, the samples from a total of 108 ships reveals that the ballast water discharged from 53% of ships complied with the D2 standard. However, 47% of ships was that at least one biological group in the samples among 108 ships did not comply with the D2 standard. Looking at the organism size classes, all 51 non-compliant samples exceeded the allowable limits for large organisms in the D2 standard. We also categorized the compliance data based on different types of BWMS. The filtration plus UV BWMS had the highest non-compliant rate at 52%, followed by filtration plus electrolysis and electrolysis without pretreatment. All types of BWMS showed instances of non-compliant. And when I took a look at the data, I saw that filtration system may be major reason for non-compliant, and or the concentration of TRO generated from electrolysis is not enough to kill organisms in the ballast water. However, the major reason was not the system's deficiency. Next, please. As I mentioned earlier, we carried out interview with the crews and officers of all ships we studied. During the interview, we identified the reasons why the ships did not comply with the D2 standard. We identified the 4 reasons. We are looking into each region. Next, please. The primary reason was that the crews were not well trained and or familiar with the operation of BWMS. Some ships did not operate the BWMS on board without any clear reason, and others used the method such as bypass mode to take in ballast water, contrary to manufacturer guidelines. Furthermore, ships only operated the BWMS during deballasting only, and did not use it during ballasting. This indicates that crews did not understand why, when, and how the BWMS shall be operated. However, as you can see in the table on this slide, this issue was not observed in 2023. So it seems that most of crews are well trained and familiar with the operation of BWMS and requirements of the convention. I hope that's the case. The second reason for non-compliance was that the ballast water in tanks and pipelines there was contaminated. So ships were approved to comply with the regulation D1 or D2 using ballast water exchange or treatment whenever they wanted. However, now the most ships under the convention are required to operate the BWMS in accordance with the regulation B3, except in the case specified by the convention, such as regulation A3. The contamination of ballast water was often caused by operational mistakes, such as untreated ballast water entering due to a variable operation error. Next, please. Next, please. Thank you. The operation of BWMS at ports with challenging water quality is also a major reason for non-compliance. Most BWMS have system design limitations. For example, the filtration plus UV type BWMS cannot treat organisms at high level of turbidity. In area with a high turbidity, the particles can block the filtration mesh, and the scattering and sheltering effects of the particles can interfere with the UV light, preventing it from effectively killing organisms in ballast water. To address this issue, the IMO adapted interim guidance on the application of the BW Convention to ships operating in challenging water quality conditions. When a ship encounters challenging water quality, it should follow the ballast water management procedure outlined in the guidance. For doing this, the guidance is reflected in the ballast water management plan. Next slide, please. Some cases identified during interview, including failure in major components, maintenance omission, and malfunctions of BWMS. Components and sensors should be replaced and calibrated regularly in accordance with the manufacturer's manual or guidelines. If this is not done, the BWMS may malfunction or fail, and the ship will not be able to comply with the D2 standard. Next, please. Yeah, I presented our findings from the data gathered and analyzed regarding the D2 compliance of the 108 ships. The half of them did not comply with the D2 standard, and we strive to identify the issues occurring out there. Our findings that showed that the primary cause of non-compliance of the D2 standard, there was a human error. Of course, some of BWMS are difficult to operate, and their maintenance procedures are complex. Additionally, the ships are facing at certain ports the having water quality challenge that exceed the limitation of currently developed BWMS. These issues cannot be resolved by just one stakeholder. To address non-compliance, I believe all stakeholders, the ship, crew, BWMS manufacturer, classification society, and administrations must contribute their efforts from each side to find a way forward. This is the goal of the convention review stage of the EBP under the Ballast Water Management Convention, which is happening at the IMO. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Dr. Sean, and thank you everyone for your presentations. They're very informative. Dr. Sean, thank you so much for sharing the data. It's eye-opening to see nearly 50% D2 standard non-compliance. By identifying the root causes of D2 standard non-compliance, companies can formulate improvement measures for efficient ballast water management systems operations and maintenance. And now we're going to move to the panel discussion, and we've had lots of questions coming through. But just to begin, we'll start with one that we received just before the webinar, and that is, I'll direct it to you, Thanos, if I may first. It's will ships continue to receive dispensations when spares and chemicals are unavailable?
Thank you, Katerina. And I think that the ballast water management system, like any ship's equipment, may become inoperable for various reasons at any time. So, provided there are legitimate reasons and the corrective action plan proposed is a realistic one, the dispensation approach, in whatever form may that be, is, to my view, the approach which any administration should take. And after all, one of the draft amendments being developed under the convention review stage is to strengthen regulation E 1.7 to require, in the case of a defect, the operator to submit to both the flag and the destination port state or port states for their approval. So a time-bound repair plan. So ultimately, the convention does recognize that in case of a defect, the ship or the operator would need to submit a time-bound repair plan. And as long as this is a realistic one, and I think that it's one way only. It should be a dispensation by the flag in order to recognize that this time-bound repair plan has been approved by the flag, and I guess it will be also accepted and approved by the port state. Thank you, Katerina.
Thank you, Thanos. And Ivan, what is your view on this?
I think it's not different than any other technical failure you can have on board. So if ballast water treatment system is not working and yeah, for some reason the crew cannot repair it immediately, or the technical supply is not there, I would believe that that the flag state decision ultimately would be to give a dispensation, and as Thanos said, with a plan for remediation in a realistic plan in remediation. So I think it will be it will be granted, but of course it depends on each flag states, of course.
Thank you, Ivan. And John, from your side, is there anything you would want to add?
Well, I can just agree with both Jan and Thanos that we are facing issues with the ballast water treatment system once in a while, and this needs to be dealt with also in the future by the convention. And when the experience we have is that when we have issues, we report to flag, and we have a dispensation or a short-term certificate issued, and then this is reported further to the port state together with a repair plan, and that is normally no issues or no problems with that. And the continuation measures proposed then would be a ballast water exchange to be in compliance then.
Thank you, John. Thank you. I see it's important to communicate with flag states and respective class and national shipowner associations with all these during this experience building phase. Another question we've received is that some coastal states do not designate areas for ballast water exchange and have started to send ships to distant locations if the depth or distance from land doesn't meet the parameters specified in Regulation B 4.1 of the Ballast Water Management Convention. Will this trend continue? John, if I can ask you first, please.
Well, it's hard to say if this will continue or not, but we need to divide between short sea trade and deep sea trade. we have the experience from the short sea trade, and we do have experience, for example, sailing from Antwerp to Rotterdam, and have been required to sail out in the North Sea to do ballast water exchange, and that's a big deviation, and we lost a lot of time for that. So in the short sea trade, this has really an impact. So, but it's something that needs to be looked into from the Ballast Water Convention side.
Thank you, John. Thank you. Manoj, could I ask you the same question, please?
Thanks, Katerina. So I can add on from what John has said. So in terms of whether coastal states whether they are right in sending ships to faraway locations, especially to the location specified in Regulation B 4.1, which is 200 nautical miles and 2000 meter depth. So in this regard, in the interim challenging water quality guidance, paragraph 45 mentions that Regulation B 4.3 does not apply to this guidance. Means in challenging water quality conditions, the ships, Regulation 4.3 mentions that ships should not be unduly penalized, or it should not be required to deviate from their best route. So this Regulation 4.3 does not apply to this challenging water quality guidance, which I believe is a bit excessive, especially in the case of Woodkillen, where they do not have the opportunity. They have not crossed through any area on their way en route from their previous port. They have not encountered any location specified in Regulation 4.1, which is 200 nautical miles and 2000 meter depth. So in that case, consideration should be given by the coastal states to allow those ships, which, from this presentation, we can clearly see that the company has taken all the best practices, especially the Ballast Water Connect on all other things. So they have done what all they could have done. So in this regard, especially some of the administrations who are sending ships to faraway locations, they should reconsider. And also we will be raising this at IMO. It will all come down to how many of us, how many other delegations can support us. So we will seek other views of the flag states and also class in this matter, and see whether they can support us. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Manoj. Thank you. And Thanos, what is the view of the flag state?
Thank you, Katarina. And this is a quite interesting issue. And although I do agree with Manoj that the resolution itself does not carry any explicit provisions of Regulation B 4.3, under which a ship shall not be required to deviate from its intended voyage or delay the voyage in order to comply with any of the exchange areas in Regulation B 4.1 or B 4.2. I believe, though, that diagram, I guess if I recall correctly, it's number 4 in the Appendix 2 of the resolution, does recognize that in cases where neither the uptake nor the discharge port have an area for ballast water exchange in accordance with Regulation B 4.2, the discharge is not expected to meet D2, and the ship should consult an export of call prior to arrival for receiving instructions, taking always into account Circular 62. Now, if we look in paragraph 3.2 of Circular 62, it is clear that the port state, although in considering a contingency measure, may require as an operational action for the ship to modify sailing, as John said also. Nevertheless, this paragraph does conclude that any possible undue delays should be avoided. So for the time being, that would be my recommendation, to any unreasonable request from a port state to deviate, and so it could carry the ballast water exchange in accordance with regulation B4.1. And again, like Manoj said, I guess attempting to discuss it at the upcoming MEPC would be a good opportunity to clarify this issue. Thank you, Katerina.
Thank you so much. Thank you. We've had quite an interesting, a good question come in actually, and it would be interesting to hear from all of you on this one. And it's how do you select the best ballast water management system for a ship? So if I could go to Dr. Sean first, that would be great, please.
Yeah, thank you, Katerina. When I selecting BWMS, I understand that the ship owners typically consider both CapEx and OpEx on which option will bring the most economic benefits. While the price is an important factor for operating and maintaining ships, I would like to recommend two additional aspects to consider when choosing a BWMS. The first aspect is the system design limitations on the type approval certificate. The ship owners should carefully review these limitations to ensure that the BWMS can operate within its approved parameters. If the system is used within these limits, the compliance will be guaranteed. Therefore, it is important to choose BWMS with a wide operational range to avoid the potential issues. The second consideration is the manufacturer track record. This includes factors such as the number of service branches that they have and their reputation for reliability. Purchasing a BWMS is just the first step in complying with the convention. The ship owners should need to operate, maintain, and repair the system over its lifespan. It is essential that the manufacturer can provide the necessary components or spare parts for the BWMS, as well as the officer technical support, service engineer, and training for both the ships and crews wherever you need it. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sean. And Ivan, how would you select?
Putting my my mic back on. Yeah, I think it's a combination of different factors. What we see, or what I at least assume, is that all the systems that are class approved, they will work in some kind of way, but it's depending on the geographical area your ships are sailing that will define which systems are usable and which not. And so what we did at least is talk with colleague owners, talk with the manufacturers, suppliers on the experience, but not only when the systems are working or not, but also check what are the pros and the cons of any of those systems. Is it easy in use? As Mr. Son said, are spare parts easily available? Also looking now with the especially in Europe with the Green Deal, what is the extra power consumption the system is creating? And last but not least, the operational expenses, capital expenses, are they acceptable? And are, as a ship owner, is the customer willing to pay the extra cost for that? And so there are. It's a combination of different elements which we must take in consideration. And as I said earlier, there's not one system being the best system. It's all depending on sailing area and water conditions you work in.
Thank you, Ivan. Thank you. And John, from your side?
Well, it's not much more to add than Jan said. I can also say that it's also limited space on board the ship, so how much the ballast water treatment system require, that's also a factor that needs to be taken into consideration. But otherwise, that's I agree with already said. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Thank you. And just quickly, if I also go to you, Manoj, and then to you, Thanos, if that's okay.
Thanks, Katarina. I can only agree to what John and Ivan has just said. Furthermore, when they say that select the BW, ship owners should select the best BWMS. There is only one clarity I could provide. If at all a vessel is going to a freshwater port and the owner has installed a system that will not function in a freshwater port, then I believe then there was a wrong selection. But other than that, all other BWMS, they all have system design limitations and they will not function in certain conditions called challenging water quality. So now in this, selection is something, it's not a quite straightforward thing. And the owners, I believe, should not be put on the ship owner that you have to select the best BWMS, because most of the vessels have a voyage pattern. Their voyage intended voyage pattern is worldwide, and they are going to, and the best BWMS in the market will be required to bypass. So I believe this element of selection of BWMS and shifting the owners to the owner is a bit disproportionate. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. And Thanos, if there's anything you wanted to add.
Yeah, okay, from a regulatory point of view, and that's what I would like to share with everybody. It's because I have been hearing a lot of times the argument that the system is approved, so it has to work everywhere. I just wanted to clarify that the BWMS code, based on which systems are being approved, is only intended to approve a system and to screen out those systems that would fail to meet the standards prescribed in Regulation D2 of the Convention. So, approval of a system does not ensure that a given system will work on all ships or in all situations. And in order to satisfy the Convention, as we already said, any discharge must comply with the D2 standard throughout the life of the ship. Now, I would only echo what has been already said by the previous speakers. Selecting a ship's BWMS should really be after a lot of consideration, but probably an operator must consider the specific application for which the system is approved, such as specific ballast water capacities, the flow rates, like Manoj said, salinity or temperature regimes, and in general, any other limiting operating condition or circumstance as may be appropriate. Thank you, Katarina.
Thank you, Thana. Thank you, everyone. I'm very conscious of time because we're running out very quickly of it, and we've got lots of questions. So please, to our audience, anything that we haven't managed to answer yet, we will come back to you via email to your questions. But just, I think I have time maybe for one more, and it's more. This has come in just to see. An update on how the upcoming measures, including regional, address the D2 standard non-compliance. And if I could go to you, Dr. Sean, on that, please.
Yeah, thank you, Katrina. According to recent data on the D2 standard compliance, as I shown in my presentation, 53% of ships met the D2 standard by properly operating and maintaining their BWMS in accordance with the manual and the type approved the ballast water management plan. The treatment process and operation of each BWMS can vary. And if any part of treatment process and operation are missed, it can result in the non-compliance with the D2 standard or pose the environmental safety risk. As highlighted in my presentation, the primary reasons for non-compliance with D2 standard have been human errors, such as improper operation of the BWMS, the failure to perform required maintenance, and mistakes in valve operations. These issues are often to crew's familiarity and training in operating the BWMS on board. Another factor was the challenge water quality exceeding the design limitations of the BWMS. In response, there are ongoing discussions about implementing more rigorous test conditions for the type of approval of BWMS. It is anticipated that BWMS code will be maybe amended to address this issue. Additionally, some documents submitted to the MEPC indicated that the concentration of active substances, TRO, in the deballasting water exceeded the maximum allowable discharge concentration set during the final approval of the BWMS as per the G9 guidelines of the convention. These issues are being prioritized as the showed the Manoj's presentation during these issues are being prioritized for resolution during the convention review stage. To address them, the amendment to the related regulations and guidelines under the BWM convention are currently being discussed. The related regulations such as A3, B1, B6, D2, D3, E1, BWMS code, and other related guidelines are all under the review to resolve the issue identified during data gathering and analysis phase of the EVP. Even after the end of EVP in December 2026, the core duties, principles, and requirements of the Ballast Water Management Convention will remain unchanged. To ensure continued compliance, it is crucial that crew members are thoroughly trained in both ballast water management and the operation and maintenance of BWMS. Ship owners should prioritize crew education and training to facilitate smoothing and ongoing compliance. Please bear in mind that we are dealing with live organisms. In contrast to chemical pollutants, which can be mitigated with specific treatment, but live organisms can reproduce and grow even in dark ballast water tanks. Therefore, it is crucial that all efforts are made to comply with the convention. Please do not let your guard down. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Jean, thank you. And I'm very conscious that we're running out of time. So I just wanted to ask each of you for one key takeaway for our audience from today, just a very brief one. And if I could go to you first, Ivan, please.
Yeah, what I would say is that ballast water treatment systems are now in working condition for a couple of years. So suppliers know the good and the bad things about it, but all these systems, they are tested under laboratory environment, and our vessels have to operate in a constant changing environment. Water quality and water composition, it's a natural given, and it's beyond our control. So also the systems, we need to understand that they sometimes can fail, especially if you have the systems with chemical contribution. we also need to know that chief engineers or other people on board, they are no pharmacists. So what I would say is a pragmatic approach of authorities in relation to system failures is more than welcomed, because we have a few things not under control. Thank you.
Thank you, Ivan. Thank you. And Manoj, a very quick takeaway, please.
Yes. Thanks, Katerina. I can be very, very quick. The upcoming regulatory measures needs to be keeping the operations of the companies as business as usual as possible. In this regard, the ballast water exchange, if they require that ballast water exchange, is the way forward, because there is no other alternate means of compliance here when systems are failing. We need more designated ballast water exchange areas. So stakeholders need to find a way to do that and keep as possible, business as usual. Then I think that's the way forward to this. Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you, Manoj. Thank you. And John, from your side, please.
Yes, the Ballast Water Management Convention is complex, and the regulation is constantly changing. It's developing. So be on top of that and support the crew is essential. Do familiarization and training on board, update them with the latest regulation news, and keep us sufficient with spares on board. That's essential.
Thank you, John. Thank you. And Dr. Sean, please, a brief takeaway, a quick takeaway, sorry.
Yeah, thank you. Ensuring compliance with the T2 standard requires improved crew training, addressing BWM's operation challenges, and ongoing regulatory updates with a focus on maintaining environmental safety even after the EBP ends in 2026. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sean. And Thanos?
Yes, thank you, Katerina. I think the convention review stage has been a positive step towards improving the entire convention, its implementation and enforcement. Nonetheless, it doesn't stop with the conclusion of the experience building phase, as we have also identified non-priority issues, and IMO, following the conclusion of the experience building phase, should continue immediately its work on this agenda and decide on a proposed approach for addressing those non-priority issues as well. Thank you, Katerina.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Thanos. I wanted just to quickly say thank you so much to our panelists today. You've given us a lot to consider, and it's been a great discussion. Thank you so much for your active engagement, and also thank you very much to all in our audience for participating and sending through these questions. We will make sure to get back to you with our answers over the next few days. But yes, thank you all for a great webinar.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.